webinar, which is a collaboration with Education USA and UC Davis School of Law. It's titled Studying Law in the US, What You Need to Know. I'm Stephanie Montano. I'm the Education USA advisor in Querétaro. And with us is Melvin Duval, who's the Associate Director in International Outreach at UC Davis School of Law. So before we get started, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about Education USA. Education USA is the official US government program that offers free educational counseling for higher education studies in the United States. Here in Mexico, we have 15 counseling centers throughout the country. And in this map, you can see the counseling centers that we have in Ciudad Juárez, Monterrey, Morelia, Puebla, Mexico City. And here specifically is the center in Querétaro. We are located at the Secretaría de la Juventud inside Parque 2000, for those of you who are from Querétaro, but we also, I think, have viewers from outside of the state. What do we offer? We offer information on undergrad and graduate programs, English programs, summer programs, short-term study programs as well, for bachelor's, master's, and doctoral levels. We offer personalized advising sessions in person or online as well, informative sessions, webinars such as this one, info sessions on 5 steps to studying in the US, or even more focused ones such as writing a personal statement. We also talk about scholarship and financial information, exam guides for standardized tests, such as the SAT, ACT, GRE, GMAT, or for English standardized tests, TOEFL, IELTS. We also offer workshops, seminars, and educational fairs. We guide you through the 5 steps that we follow for studying in the US. Number 1, researching your options, so helping you find an accredited university, researching programs. Number 2, financing your studies, so exploring scholarship and funding as well. Number 3, completing your application, so talking to you throughout the admission process, the requirements. Number 4, the general guidelines for applying for your student visa. And number 5, preparing you for your departure to the US. If you're in Querétaro, again, you can write to me at querétaro@educationusa.org if you would like more information. We also have in-person events scheduled for June 16th and June 19th if you are here in the state. If you're not from Querétaro, if you are in any other state here in Mexico, if you scan this QR code, an advisor that's closest to you will follow up so you can attend those in-person events. I'll show this QR code as well at the end of our webinar, but I'll also put this information in the chat for those of you who would like the email. And with that, I'll let Melvin continue with the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here. Muchas gracias a todos los que están aquí. Let me share my presentation and go ahead with presenting the presentation, the information that I prepared for you today. The presentation was focused on studying law in the United States, of course, and what you need to know. So for me, it seemed like a logical step to kind of give you an introduction on how law is presented and in what degrees they're offered in the United States. Going from top to bottom, I'll first present the degrees and then give you a little bit of background information on how law works. It's maybe a little bit different than in Mexico. Maybe it's not, just to give you a little bit of background information. So you see the JD, Juris Doctorate, is a degree that is mostly for domestic students and is a degree of 3 years with the purpose to pass the bar exam, which allows you to practice in a particular state in the United States. Then the LLM program is different in the sense that you supposedly already have a bachelor degree from your own country, and you come here to study a master program, which is 1 or 2 year program, mostly for international legal practitioners and international law graduates, with two goals in mind, or one of two goals in mind: to obtain, first of all, advanced knowledge of the US legal system, or to pass the bar exam and become a member of the bar and practice in the United States. The third one is of course after both of these degrees, a doctoral degree or a juridical SJD, which is for both domestic and foreign scholars to undertake extended research, or for people who want to join faculty to teach in the United States. Now, why is law maybe different in the United States? Because there is no undergraduate law program. Law in the United States is a graduate, so a master level program. Then some people are asking me, well, how do you study law in the United States? Um, First of all, for domestic students, that would mean that you need a first undergraduate degree before you can go into studying law. That means that a lot of students who want to study law, of course, first graduate high school, and after high school, they go and study in an undergraduate program that prepares them in the best way possible for law. So a lot of people choose a 3 or 4 year study of political science or economy, but even studying music or sports qualifies as a first undergraduate degree. And then after, you have standardized testings, so just as the LSAT. LSAT is a standardized testing that everyone who wants to go study law needs to take before you can study and be admitted in a law degree. This is for the JD program. For the Masters of Law program, it's different. Admitting people from abroad, international students. Most international countries have law as a bachelor program. This is what your degree requirement is to at least have a bachelor degree in law, and then you can apply for an LLM program. Just to give you some background information. Um, what do academic LLM programs look like? There are a bunch of different LLM programs out there, right? I'm trying to make this as generic as possible. There are general programs, there are customizable programs, there are programs with concentrations, and programs with pre-planned areas of specialization. So let's start with a general LLM program. A general LLM program is a program in which you can start when you are sure that you want to continue your legal studies without knowing the particular area of law you want to specialize in. Let's say you want to follow an LLM about the specific US legal system and all everything that is around the US legal system, then you can follow a general LLM program focused on learning the US legal system. You can also customize certain LLM programs. Why is that? Of course, every person has different goals, every person has different interests, so it's only logical that you should be able to customize your LLM program. There are certain LLM programs with concentrations. For example, a lot of the most common concentrations. I'm just going to skip back and forth between these slides just to show you the most common areas of concentration are business law, criminal law and policy, environmental law, intellectual property law, immigration law, and tax law. So those are concentrations. What does a concentration mean? Concentration means that you are focusing more courses on one subject, and that at the end you will receive your LLM diploma together with a diploma mentioning that you graduated from a particular concentration. Now, what is the difference with a pre-planned specialized area of study? Those are areas that are just not enough credits to make a concentration. So you can pick courses and focus more on a particular area, but there are not enough courses to follow that particular subject. Let's say maybe an example of marine law is a very interesting subject, but maybe there aren't 5 courses on marine law to create a concentration. So you can choose pre-planned area of specialization, maybe healthcare law, marine law. Those are all aspects that aren't robust enough to create a concentration. Now, certain LLM programs offer a 2-year advanced LLM degree. What does that mean, and what's the difference with a 1-year program? Well, the basic difference is that 1 year is just 1 year and 2 year is 2 year. But why is there a 1 year and a 2-year program? Certain people can complete their goals in 1 year. Other people are very ambitious and take more on than they can chew in 1 year and need 2 years to complete all the goals that they have. Maybe they want to study for the bar exam and also do 2 concentrations and there are multiple goals that you can have. So this is just one thing that is offered in the United States. I mean, there are multiple programs that offer 2-year advanced programs. There are few LLM programs that also offer a spring start. So very often LLM programs offer a start in August. There are few, also of which UC Davis, that offer a second start date, which is in January. What's the benefit of this? If for any reason visas are delayed or the application takes a long time to process, etc., you don't have to wait a full year to start the next cycle in August the next year, but you can join in uh, the January of just a few months after the August start. So that's the main information. And then most LLM programs also offer bar preparation. This is a goal that a lot of students who are international legal practitioners or international students have, is to become members of the bar. Now, most common bars sought after by international students are the California bar, the New York bar, Washington, D.C. bar, and also Texas bar. There are more states available. However, those are the most sought after ones. If you're interested in more information on the bar exam, I'm happy to share that with Stephanie or Maya. It's a website from the bar, ncbex.org, which offers very comprehensive information about taking the bar. Um, so, of course, this is the first basic information that I just shared. Now, after this, how do you choose your school, right? How does someone go about choosing the school that they want? Of course, everyone has different criteria, and this is by no means a how-to or like the Bible of how to find your LLM program. But just to give you a few insights on how I would go about choosing my law school, or just give you some idea to get started. First of all, I would definitely research the faculty, so the number of professors, the diversity of topics of the professors in one particular school. So to understand that
No, no, no.
there is a broad variety in topics covered. Another thing is alumni success. Every university has an alumni success page which shows student testimonials, and also based on this you can discover what people liked about the university. It probably highlights the main things, the main selling points from a particular university. So based off of that, you can find a lot of information to inform yourself. Another topic that I would research is support services for students. Certain law schools offer more support services for students. A very big support service is a career service office. I might talk about that a little bit later, but what does a career service offer? It offers help with networking, finding job opportunities. It helps with resume writing and reviewing and cover letter writing and reviewing. It offers networking skill workshops and it just helps you all over with looking for job opportunities, going to job fairs, giving networking opportunities, etc. And then, of course, you have the reputation and the rankings of schools. For some people, that is really important. For some others, it isn't. So that is a little bit up to you as a person. If you really want to study at the highest ranked school, then you can, of course, take a look at a U.S. News and World Report to understand what the rankings are lately. They're updated every year in April or May, so we have a new, fresh um, school ranking for all the law schools in the US. And then, of course, also the reputation. Certain people care more about the reputation of a school rather than the ranking. What is the legacy that the school is leaving in the legal field, or have I heard about the particular school? That's something that you might want to research and that people oftentimes find interesting. Now, of course, a big item and a big topic is the cost and funding of a particular LLM program. There are certain questions that are inevitable that you need to answer way before you even come to the United States. Is what is your budget for tuition? And also, what is the cost of housing and living in particular areas that you're interested in? What I would always recommend is to have a picture of the total cost. So that means total cost between tuition added up together with the living cost and housing. Some people seem very interested in having the lowest tuition possible, which I understand. You want to, of course, pay the least amount for your higher education. However, sometimes it ends up being that schools with a lower tuition cost end up costing more in the total picture. Certain schools might have a lower tuition fee, but then they are in a big city, where in a big city, maybe you have higher living costs and housing costs. So other schools might have a higher tuition, but in a smaller town or in a less populated city, or maybe in a little bit less of a hotspot, you have lower housing and living costs, which end up being in a total cost less than what you initially thought. So I would definitely recommend looking at the total picture. Of course, understanding what the payment schedule would be like for the tuition. I don't know specifics for other schools, but I'm sure there's multiple schedules that you can pay with. Usually, I'll take the example of UC Davis just because I know it. UC Davis School of Law has a payment per semester, so there's 2 semesters. You pay at the start of each semester. You don't usually pay everything up front. That's not something that schools usually do. And then if you're not able to pay everything up front or if you're not able to pay everything at the start of each semester, you can work with the financial department to do like a payment plan where you pay off every month something or every 2 months. So there's different payment plans that you can, of course, enroll in. Very important, of course, in this cost and funding page about this topic is very important do your research, and for which Stephanie mentioned that Education USA is very helpful, is in understanding and researching different opportunities, whether they're scholarships, governmental funds, maybe funding by your own university. So Education USA is very good with helping that and informing students interested. We also offer, specifically, I say we, UC Davis, I'm sure other universities also do, their own scholarship from the university, specifically for UC Davis again. I know this is it's not trying to like sell UC Davis specifically, but just to give you an actual accurate example, is the scholarship that we offer is a generous partial scholarship that everyone who completes a full application is eligible for. Every student who ends up coming to UC Davis also gets the scholarship. So I've never seen anyone that doesn't have a scholarship. Scholarship amounts obviously look different because every person has a different background. Has some people have partially higher because of merit, some people have higher because of hardship, etc. So there's like a holistic approach in reviewing scholarships. This is done by the admission committee. If you're interested in looking up more scholarships or funding organizations, I'm happy to share a link to our website where we have done the research for you, and this may be also useful for Stephanie and Maya, just to have a comprehensive list over in Latin America which countries have which governmental sponsorships or what sort of scholarship organizations are there, like Fulbright, etc., just to name a few. So I'm happy to share this at the end of the presentation if anyone is interested. Then, of course, after figuring out what school you're interested in, comes the time to complete an application. So this is where I briefly go over what an application looks like for most LLM programs. Now, keep in mind, this is very generic. Every university and every LLM program will have somewhat of a variation of this. Very hard to predict exactly which university has what, but most have all these items. So official transcripts from all universities that you have attended. Most applicants will need an English language requirement. The scores, etc., that I put behind is specifically for UC Davis, but other schools might have other amounts. A statement of purpose. This is also very popular document in the United States when you're submitting an application. Letters of recommendation, a resume, and then an application document, the actual application form. Now, other items might be applicable depending on the program. Some programs require you to complete essay questions. Some might want to do interviews in person on Zoom or on the phone. And it's very important to highlight, to note that LLM programs do not require those standardized tests that I mentioned all the way at the beginning of the presentation, like LSAT, GRE, and GMAT. Those are standardized tests that domestic students need to take. For example, LSAT is specifically for the law. Other GRE and GMAT are all graduate admission tests, standardized tests for people who want to participate in a graduate program. A particular topic that also often comes up in the discussion is the GPA. Where most universities have the same requirement to have at least a 3.0 GPA, we usually recommend to not self-calculate the GPA and think you're not eligible. Okay, a lot of universities calculate the GPA themselves. They have experts. The admission committees are experts. Admission directors are experts in transferring these grades that you have from your home country into a GPA. It's also often so that the admission committee looks at your application as a whole and not only at the GPA. Let's say you have a 2.7 GPA and you calculate it yourself and you get desperate because you say, I don't have a 3.0 GPA, and you end up not applying. That's a scenario that we want to prevent. We very often have people who apply with a less than 3.0 GPA, but they have excellent resume, they have great recommendation letters, their personal statement look fine, and the total package of their application makes them eligible for the LLM program. So that's very important for you to know that most universities, I say most universities, recommend you to apply regardless, and then we can decide to either admit you or not. So that is that's very good to not deny yourself the opportunity when you would possibly still be eligible. I have created slides to go over each of those individual documents in a little bit more detail. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on here because I want to leave enough time for people to ask questions. So I am going to go over it quite quickly. If there are any questions about this, please feel free to stop me or at the end ask some more questions. But let's go over the documents to submit one by one. So I mentioned the transcripts. Those are all your official academic records. What does that mean? Not only your grade reports and not only your certificate of completion. We want them both together. Okay, so sometimes we get like partial academic records where people only submit the certificate of completion or only the transcripts. We need both together. So that's very important to make sure that we have a complete overview. Also, it's very important to submit all the academic records that you have. So not only the ones that are pertinent to law. So if you have a bachelor in law, but maybe also, let's say, a master in economics, we would need to see 4 documents, right? Transcripts of the grades of the bachelor and the master, and also the certificate of completion of the bachelor and the master. That's just because of a legal requirement for admission committees to review all the academic records of a participant. So that's very important. We just went over the GPA, so that's taken care of. And then the English language requirement, unless your native language is English. So let's say you have done schooling. I'm just taking an example that is not really pertinent right now, but sometimes I do presentations for either South Africa or Nigeria or New Zealand, Australia, United States or the UK, United Kingdom. Those are countries that do not need English language requirement because their native language is English and all their schooling is done in English. Most other countries will need to do an English language requirement. So most of you, I suspect, will need to do English language tests, which most of the common ones are either TOEFL or IELTS, and the scores are very dependent on the university that you're applying for. Okay. We always recommend to take these tests in advance because if you're thinking of the timeline of your application, the documents that take the longest are the documents that you cannot produce yourself. Okay. The documents that you need to do testing for. So, for example, your English language requirement takes a while, right? You need to do the tests, and maybe it takes a while for the test center to send you the documents. At the same time, also, your letters of recommendation. Those also are out of your control time-wise. So I always recommend you to get those as soon as possible, or at least request them, because you don't know how busy or not your recommenders are. So that is one point. Those are two documents that are very important and take time for the recommenders to write or for the test centers to get back to you. So here you can see the minimum score specifically for UC Davis. Again, if you're applying for another school, definitely make sure to check with other schools. Then we have the document of statement of purpose. What is a statement of purpose? First of all, sometimes people don't know what a statement of purpose is, and that's totally fine. I'm here to tell you what it is. So, a statement of purpose, you can see it as a little bit of a story about your life. It's kind of your resume, but in a story. That's very important. Is that of course, it's an essential component of your application. And some universities use it as an alternative to an interview, right? An interview is really live and in person. Statement of purpose is a document that you can think about. You can create a story about yourself, about your life. Mostly it's for the academic committee to get an insight on your personal, your academic, and your professional life, and your reason for seeking an advanced degree. So those are the key points and the key contents that you need to create. Of course, if you're applying to a particular law school, that's always great to mention why you're choosing them over the competitors and what your goals are to obtaining an LL.M degree, what your dreams and hopes are. And of course, since it's a written document, it's a good opportunity for you to demonstrate your writing abilities. As you all might know, everyone who is here is supposedly interested in law. So you know that in the legal field, regardless of what language it is in, the written part you have to be very proficient in, and that's very important. Now, of course, the letters of recommendation, like I mentioned, those are pretty straightforward. Depending on the amount of letters that you need to get, depends on the schools that you're applying to. Depends also who can recommend you. Certain schools only prefer professors, others can combine. So for UC Davis in particular, you can use your common sense, right? If you haven't been in university for the last 5 years or even 4 years, I would say it's probably a good idea to get a recommendation from an employer. If your professor is one of your mentors, then why not, right? If you're still in touch with a professor, that's fine. So just use your common sense. Um, for UC Davis particularly, it's 2 letters of recommendation, but again, this number might change for a different university. And then, yeah, depending on the law school, certain internship supervisors, etc., might also be acceptable. This is very important. Asking a family member is not acceptable. It's always it seems common sense, but sometimes people seem to forget that. So just want to make sure that that's not the case. It's not acceptable to have a family member recommend you. Then resume is at this point in your life, it should be pretty basic information. So it's a list of educational and professional backgrounds, pretty straightforward. If you have received any honors, awards, or publications, either extracurricular activities or professional organizations. Those are all things that you can mention and that are worth mentioning. However, I did mention and I did put a slide here just to cover the basics and at the same time also give you a few more tips and also make your resume a little bit American proof in the sense that each country has their different etiquettes, their different ways of doing things. And in the United States, we try to keep it neutral. We try to give everyone the same opportunities, the same chances. That way, we are doing this by trying to have applicants include the least amount of personal information possible. So what do we need in the United States when you're submitting an application with a resume? We only need a name, a phone number, an email address, just so that we can contact you and communicate with you. What we do not need is your birth date, age, gender, marital status, photos, or any other personal information. Just again, to keep it very neutral and to not have any form of bias of any kind. Also very important is to keep all the information in chronological order. So keep the most recent, the highest up on the page so that it's very easy in one blink of an eye to see what you're currently doing, and then people can always read further what you did in the past. Also, it's very important to just keep it simple, black and white, and just in like a simple standard text form is fine, right? Sometimes people think this is the opportunity to test their art skills. The resume is not a art piece. It just needs to be a readable, easy, clear, concise, that does the job. Also, very important to convert your documents in PDF format, because otherwise anyone can change the contents of it. And then the last bit, that is the actual application. This is where it gets interesting because you're close to submitting all the documents. There are a couple of ways in which you can submit an application. That is what I'm covering right now. The most common options are either submitting your application directly online on the website of the LLM program that you're interested in, or well, paper application is a little bit outdated. Not many people send them by mail anymore, but it's still an option. And then the third option is actually the second most common option is online through LSAC, which is the Law School Admission Council. This is a centralized location. This is a company, an external company that is a centralized location where you can send all the documents that I just explained. You can send everything to them. They put it in a nice little package ready to send out to all different universities. So that means that you have an option either to do it school by school yourself, mostly for free. So applying directly online on the LLM website is mostly for free, depending on the universities. However, it takes longer. If you want to apply to 4 or 5 different schools, you need to 4 or 5 times fill out each individual application form, etc. If you want to pay for convenience, that is possible. You can pay in LSAC to create a profile, upload your documents in the profile, and then based out of that profile, you can click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different schools that you want to submit your application to. Of course, you pay for each of the steps. You pay to create a page, and then you pay to submit a law school report to the universities that you want to apply to. However, it cuts some of your time. It definitely helps some people. It's a little bit of a personal choice, whatever you want to do. Just know that those are the options that are available. Now, I do want to share just a few words. I know that after we want to keep some time available, right, Stephanie, for Q&A. So I just want to say a few words over on UC Davis, what we offer, why we're the best. No, I'm just kidding. But just to give you a little bit of insight on what UC Davis stands for and what we offer. First of all, it's important to know that we have internationally recognized faculty that is available loves to share their knowledge, and also very innovative. Very innovative. They participate in a lot of networking events. They create different centers that for example, right now is a big topic. We have a international law center, immigration center, which is obviously currently a big topic in the United States, which has been going for years already, and many students are participating and volunteering in these centers to help all sorts of different populations to fight for their rights. So that's a great thing, I think. Also very important is that we have an outstanding library with access to all other UC campus collections. So it's important for you to know that UC stands for University of California. And the University of California is a school system that exists out of that are a combination of 10 schools all over California. We are part of this we are one of these 10 schools. And so when you participate in a UC school, you have access to the libraries of all the other 9 universities as well. We do have an intimate student environment, very modern, recently renovated King Hall facility. So that's always nice. And of course, we have scholarship opportunities, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, and the opportunity to transfer into the JD program if this is something that you're interested in. Other aspects that are interesting are student resources. Like I mentioned earlier, I explained briefly what career service office are. We have one of those offices and they're great. They help and support students finding job fairs, job opportunities. They help with networking skill workshop, help them with interviews and resume reviewing, etc. We also have some really cool law student organizations. There are more than 50, so chances are that you will find something that is interesting to you in each of these organizations, or at least in one of them. Also is interesting at our university is that we have student-ran journals, for example, the International Law Journal that students create, participate, and edit documents in for the journal. We also have really nice field trips. For example, interesting field trips to the Sacramento Superior Courts, which is Sacramento is the capital of California, which is really next door, really close by and very interesting. Also, field trips to the state capitol and prisons that are also quite instructive, and other excellent events. And then to finish off, I just want to kind of give a feel for what is outside of the classroom. There's a lot of activities, recreation centers. There is a giant fitness building that comprehends of like 3 levels of all sorts of activities and sports that you can participate in. There's campus pools, there's outdoor recreation activities, there's club sports that you can participate in. And as you might know or might not know, UC Davis is a Division I university, so there's a lot of college football, basketball, all sorts of sports that are done at a high level, and a lot of other musical sports events. And then I want to finish with the top right picture. You might not notice, but UC Davis, and actually the city of Davis, is the bike capital of the United States. So what you see here on the picture is not done on purpose. It's just a regular day here on campus. Campus is a no car zone, so there's only bikes allowed, or right now you see a lot of those electric scooters. But bike highways is what we call them. There's a lot of bikes around Davis and on campus. thank you everyone for your attention. I really appreciate your you following until now. I'm happy to answer any questions now or in the future. Happy to connect with you. Leaving my email address here in case you want some more information. And I'll bring it back to Stephanie and Maya just in case if there's any questions or happy to interact some more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melvin, for all this great information. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. Yep, if anybody has questions, raise your hand. You can leave them in the comments, I mean, in the chat in English or Spanish, we can translate. Yeah, if you want to just go through the list, I see Ariadna, you had your hand up.
Yeah. Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. And I just wanted to ask, for someone that wishes to do the bar exam, I've heard that they recommend to study a general LM program. But is this like a requirement, or you can choose another program in order to take that exam or to be part of the bar?
That's a good question, Ariadna. And actually, so I mentioned this website. I guess I'm allowed to share it here, right? It's just a website for more information. So usually there are two ways that you can participate into or become eligible for the bar exam. I'm sharing the website and then I'll continue my thoughts. So it's ncbex.org is for bar exam information. There we go. Okay, so I shared the link. My thought was there are two ways for someone to become eligible and participate in the bar exam. One of the easier way, let's put it that way, is to follow an LLM program. Take in the LLM program, you need to let us know so that we can help you create your schedule so that you take courses that prepare you for the bar exam, and then you can become eligible. The other way is that if you are already a renowned or lawyer, practicing lawyer in your country, part of the bar or part of your sworn in lawyer in your country, then you can follow a pathway where you are already allowed to take the bar, but you still need to study the material to take the bar in the United States yourself. So one way is to either go to university and follow the classes, or you already are a member of the bar or a sworn-in lawyer in your country, then you could potentially, depending on the state that you're planning to do it, take the bar, but you still need to study for the material yourself. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course, no problem. And again, I want to emphasize that ncbex.org has really extensive information. They can answer a lot of questions just with the Q&A or their website, but they also have ways for you to interact with an advisor, and they can recommend or advise you on specific questions you have.
We have another question, Alejandro.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for your time. I just have a couple of questions here. The first one is, do you have statistics that you can tell us about how many students have a job when they graduate, or how can you help us out with that issue with that? Because we don't live in the US, we don't have any
Yeah.
experience in the network, is the environment, you know. So do you have any number or any like statistics that we can follow through with this?
Yeah, I understand. I understand the question, and it's really hard to give statistics because depending on each cohort, a cohort is when a new class starts. Depending on each cohort, some cohorts everyone wants to stay, which is not very often, but I'm just thinking of an example. Let's say some cohorts everyone wants to stay here and get a job. But other cohorts, there are maybe 3 out of 50 people who are interested. So it's really hard to give
Yeah.
a particular number. However, in every cohort, there's always people who manage to get a job. It really depends on the person's interest and
Interest,
motivation.
yeah. Mhm.
I think one thing is interest in getting a job. How interested and how motivated are you to getting a job? We make sure that you have plenty of networking opportunities throughout the academic year, in the first semester as well as in the second semester, to create a network. Now, some people are just not interested, right? There's two big distinctions. There are students who just come here, want to have the knowledge of the US legal system, and come back with that knowledge to their home country and maybe, open doors for a higher position in a company, etc. Other people come here exactly with the goal in mind to stay here, work here, find a job. There
Sure.
is something that is available. It's a program called OPT, which is called Optional Practical Training, which is available after 1 year of LLM program. You can apply for OPT, and optional practical training means that you're allowed to work in the United States and get experience for up to 1 year after your graduation. So currently, right now, we have a class that just graduated in the middle of May. There are students that within the 90 days after they applied for OPT, within 90 days, they need to find a company that is willing to either sponsor them or help them get you need to get some sort of sponsorship or a company that's willing to take you as an intern or anything like that within 90 days, to make sure that this OPT time of 1 year is granted. Okay,
Okay,
so
thank you.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's the most information. I know that it's hard to hear, there is not a number of like 80% of the people who come here get a job or anything, but there is every year there are people, and I'm happy to do some research and put you in touch with people. We also, I don't want to promote my own webinars, but we do throughout the, I am going to promote my own webinars. Throughout the year, we do organize alumni panels in which I welcome alumni from previous LLM years and ask them how they did it. Some alumni have stayed here and worked in the
Yeah.
workforce. How
How can
they
we access those webinars?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'm happy to share a link. It's on UC Davis's website. Actually, if Stephanie and Maya allow me, I'm just going to share the link here. Okay, great. I'll share a link here in the chat,
Awesome.
so that you can register for them.
I'll pass quickly with the next question just
Yeah,
to
sure.
not take
Yeah.
more time. Um, what if I'm at the visa process
Uh-huh.
and I need like some documentation where I can demonstrate that I'm in the process of election or I am accepted within you guys and UC Davis. Can you help us out with a document that I can show at immigration?
Yeah, are you already in contact with our admission team?
No, 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 no. It's a question. I don't have any information about you guys. This is my first approach, so
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to connect. I'm happy to connect with you further to discuss. This is a very personal thing, so I understand that you might not want to, have anyone
Thank you.
know about this. But yeah, please reach out to me on my email directly, and we can talk
Sure
about
things.
this. Yeah.
Thank you. Mhm.
While you write that link, Melvin, we have
Yep.
one more question. Daniel asked if there is an LLM program online.
That's a good question. I think it was Danielle. There is not. I'm sure there is. Possibly, but not with UC Davis. So I know for sure that UC Davis does not have an LLM program online. Now, I'm not up to date on all the LLM programs available in the United States, and I'm sure there might be comparable online LLM alternatives or something, but not that I know of specifically.
Thank you. And Boanca, Marcelo?
Yeah, it's Bianca, but I don't know why. It's a thing here. Okay, unfortunately, I was very late for this webinar, and I'm so thankful that you're here, Melvin. But I do have just one question regarding, so in the state of California, where you're at, I'm here from Mexicali, Baja California.
Okay.
So in the state of California, it's required to have an LLM in order to sit down on the bar exam, or just the knowledge, if you're a lawyer, practicing lawyer here in Baja?
Yeah. So I think I understand that you're later, but I think I just answered this question
Yeah.
to one of the other participants, and to Ariadna, I think she asked, and indeed, if you are already a current lawyer in your country, you can potentially already be eligible to sit for the bar exam. In one of the links, I don't know if you have the link available. I'm happy to
Yeah,
reshare
the
it.
NCBX. Yeah.
ncbex.org. Yeah, absolutely. So they have a lot of information available. They also have advisors to which you can write, and they can advise you on yes, you are eligible, or no. But yes, I think if you are currently a lawyer in Baja California, then you should have the opportunity to sit for the bar exam. Of course, then you need to still study the material.
Yeah.
But yes, I think you should be able to do that.
And the second question comes, UC Davis School of Law offers master programs in order for you to get the knowledge to pass the bar exam, 1 year LLM program.
Yes, exactly. So
Okay.
if your goal is to only pass the bar exam, that is absolutely something that we offer,
Okay.
even if there are other goals. So you can take the maximum amount of bar preparation courses. If this is
Okay.
something that is your goal, you take the maximum amount of bar preparation courses, and then based off of that, you might still hit the maximum amount of courses and need to study like 1 or 2 courses yourself.
Okay.
Some people, they take 2 bar courses, but then they still interested in other things, so they might need to study 3 or 4 themselves, which takes much more time, right?
Okay, and there's like a name of this LLM program? What is the name of this UC Davis program?
So this is just I think most LLM programs, whether it's UC Davis or any other university, it's just the LLM program that offers the opportunity. It just depends. So when you are interested in the LLM program, usually before starting the program, you would sit down with the director of the
Yeah.
LLM program.
Okay.
He would talk you through what is interesting to you, what your goals are, and then based off of that, he would create your schedule with you to reach those goals.
Okay. Okay.
So it's
Thank you
just
very
a
much.
standard, yeah, it's just a standard LLM program. Thank
And
you for the
UC
question.
Davis it's a public university, it's a private one?
Yes, public
Okay.
university, yeah.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bianca.
I know Bianca mentioned that she was a little bit late to the webinar, but in a few days it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel if you would like to see
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
the part of the webinar that you missed.
Okay.
And I think we have time for one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I'm here. I don't have any more meetings today, so
Jeffet says, what's the difference between applications on LLM and JD to international students?
that's a great question. And I can help you with the application for the LLM students. And if you're interested in a JD application for international students, I would redirect you to one of my colleagues here at UC Davis in the JD department. So I'm happy to do that, Jafet. If you're interested, please contact me, and I'm happy to introduce you to the associate director for the JD admission.
Okay, so I think if there's any other questions, maybe send Melvin a message. I put his email here as well, or you can also
Yes.
send me a message. Maybe I can forward that to you. I put our YouTube channel as well here. That's where you guys will be able to find this recording. Our Instagram, where we upload all of our events, webinars, and such. For those who are not in Querétaro, I also linked a page where you can find another EducationUSA advising center. closest to you. And finally, for those who are in Querétaro, we're going to have info sessions in general, like general 5 steps for bachelor's programs the 17th of June and for graduate programs on the 19th. So with that, thank you, Melvin, for all of the information. It was really helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me the platform to share my information here. Thank you, Stephanie and Maya, and thank you everyone for your questions and your time. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.